What's up? A to Z Sports Live on a Friday. Hope everybody is having a great start to your day. It is a very special day, Valentine's Day. So hope everybody's had a great start to Valentine's Day. We told you earlier in the week how not to screw up Valentine's Day. So I'll do a little gift of a reminder for you guys here in a couple minutes on that. But we have a good show coming as the Titans. Maybe we'll play a little matchmaker here, Easton, on Valentine's Day. What we know about how the Titans might feel about these quarterbacks that could be available in either free agency or the draft. And then we will rank them. We have them in tiers. Easton, you've put Titans quarterback options into 4 tiers. And they are both, free agents and 5 tiers.
Technically 5. The 5th is a lame tier, but there's a 5th tier.
Okay, so there is a 5th tier. We don't have a graphic for a 5th tier. So that's a curveball here on the show.
Spoiler, the 5th tier are all the rookies that aren't the rookies at the top of the draft because they stink. That's the 5th tier.
So the 5th tier is okay.
So we don't have to spend time on them. If you're a huge Max Brosmer fan, I'm sorry. Today's not the show for you.
Yes. So there we go. We're going to have a good conversation about the 4 tiers of Titans quarterback options this offseason in both free agency and the draft. Then we'll talk about the comment that is making its way around the internet from Titans defensive lineman Jeffrey Simmons on what he thinks he would want the Titans to do with the first overall draft pick. And then it's Friday, so ain't that good news to wrap up our week. Good news, that is not a coffee spill stain on Easton's shirt that I thought it was. It is just a tie-dye pattern where the cutoff of the graphic makes it look like, at least for me, a big coffee spill. I was like, man, Easton's been going through it this morning. But Easton, welcome in.
It matches my hat, the orange and the green. I thought this was a good look, but apparently it looks like I've been spit up on and spilled coffee and just been to hell and back.
The green is fine. I just thought you took the coffee creamer, because that's your color coffee though too, right?
Well, you know what? You got me there. Good morning, Austin. Good morning to everybody in the chat. Happy Valentine's Day to all of those who celebrate. Hope everybody's having a great start to your Friday. Exciting show for everybody today. Ranking Titans quarterback options. I wrote an article last night. Well, I wrote it yesterday, but I published it last night. And it's essentially, I put more effort into this article than I have in a long time. It is a long one. I essentially emptied my entire quarterback notebook for the Titans ahead of the combine. So all of the little bits and pieces, nuggets of information that I have picked up on in my dealings postseason at the combine, or excuse me, at the Senior Bowl, all of my run-ins with people, things that I have picked up on and taken little notes on. There's a lot of little nuggets of information in there. So we're going to go through all of that this morning. And I think that it will be an interesting exercise to see where we're at quarterback-wise for this team. But in order to get to all of those exciting things, we need you guys to like the show on Facebook, on YouTube. Hit that like button. People in the comments giving me a hard time about growing a beard or don't. Hit that like button and then jump into the comments, and then maybe you can comment on my beard. Apparently, my audio and video is messed up. Austin, can you hear me? Am I okay?
Actually, I do think there's a slight off sync. Yes, I didn't notice it until now because I was focused on the coffee stand.
I can fix that in one moment. But first, while I'm fixing that, if folks can go and like the show, do those things. Austin, you can officially get us started, and I'll get that fixed.
Yep, let's do it. Officially welcoming the A to Z Sports here on a Friday morning. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Easton Freeze. And we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. Got to thank our sponsors. They make it happen for us, and they help out all of you. Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process. See them in Lebanon or online, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Make sure you check out TDOT's campaign to find a solution to end littering across our state. That's nobodytrashes.tennessee.com, and our friends at Bart Durham Injury Law. A crash can change your life forever, but help is just a click away by checking them out at bartdurham.com. So, Easton, let's do a little check here. Are we good with the audio and video sync?
Yeah, I don't know. How do we sound now? Is this okay?
Looks good. Looks good. Sounds good.
Chat, what do we think? Is this fixed? I think we may have fixed it. If not, you're just going to have to deal with it because I did the only thing I know what to do. So
no, it fixed. It
okay.
fixed.
All right,
So
good.
shout out to Valentine's Day. Hope everybody is off to a good start on Valentine's Day. If you have been like, oh crap, it's Valentine's Day, I haven't done anything yet. I told you on Tuesday, a moment's peace salon and day spa. A moment's peace salon and day spa. A momentspeace.com. It's not too late to save yourself from that mistake. A momentspeace.com/Valentine specifically, but a momentspeace.com for that Valentine in your life.
Austin, are you and your wife big Valentine's Day celebrators? You got any big plans?
Dinner on Sunday.
Okay, exciting. We
right.
my wife and I have never been huge Valentine's Day people ourselves. Not trying to yuck anybody else's yum, but it is always nice for me to watch everybody else scurry around panicked because they take Valentine's Day very seriously. When I found, I intentionally found a wife who just does not care at all. So
one of your prerequisites.
That's right. It's like, do you care about Valentine's Day? No. Okay, then we can go out.
Curtis, do you cook, Austin? Yeah, I cook. Yeah, I can whip it up pretty good.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, I have several of signature dishes in my own cookbook. That is
signature dishes.
Yeah, I have my own.
When does the Austin Stanley cookbook come out?
Well, I have had a cooking show in my life already.
Excuse me?
Yes, that's right.
Where? When?
High school.
Okay.
I had like 7 or 8 episodes of a cooking show when I was in high school.
Wow.
So yes.
Where I didn't even have to dig that up.
No, it's impossible to find.
I know. We went to the same high school. I'll go to the archives. I'll find it.
You're not gonna be able to find it because
I guarantee they still have
the technology of where those shows were on.
Oh, is that right?
Has been phased out.
You had those on VHS. Is that what happened?
Not VHS. They were on like small discs or whatever they're called. So anyway, let's get into this quarterback tiers topic before we get too far down a rabbit hole here. So you did say there is a 5th tier. Yes. We have 4 tiers that we're actually going to spend time on, but the 5th tier is the quarterbacks that are not the top 2 quarterbacks in the NFL draft, right? Like, so Easton, you said off the top in the cold open that you've unloaded your quarterback notebook pre-combine into this article in A2ZSports.com. I suggest you all go read it after the show, but that's what we're talking through today. I might even drop the link in the chat here in a second, but just kind of describe the 5th tier that we're not going to talk much about, but just to get it out there for everybody on the quarterbacks not at the top of this draft class.
Yeah, the 5th tier is all other rookie quarterbacks not named Cam Ward or Shadir Sanders. The Titans aren't enamored with anybody in this rookie class other than those 2 guys. That was made pretty apparent when we spoke with Brian Callahan and Mike Borgonzi at the Senior Bowl, on the record and off the record, that, nobody at the Senior Bowl was particularly impressed by any of the quarterbacks that were there. It was a rough week for everybody involved. Even rougher than I think is fair to some of those guys, but it was a bad start to the process. And, the depth of this quarterback class is non-existent. If you ask most people that are, draft analysts, folks paying attention, the Titans certainly seem to be included in that school of thought. So if you're a big Jackson Dart or Will Howard or Jalen Milroe or Quinn Ewers or Dylan Gabriel or Kyle McCord, Riley Leonard, Curtis Rourke, Matt Brosmer, all of those guys are going to get drafted probably somewhere. Tyler Shuck, the Canadian cannon, Taylor Elgersma. I don't know how to say his last name, but the Canadian guy. They'll probably get drafted, but not by the Titans.
Yeah, 2 things we can go ahead and clear up. Jake says the 5th tier is no doubt Will Levis. I think here's a spoiler alert. Will Levis is not on any of the tiers.
We're not talking about Will Levis today.
So I think that's a good thing. Like, Will Levis is not on the 4 tiers of quarterback plans the Titans have. So I think that's a good thing for the Will Levis.
Will Levis is a part of the 2025 Titans quarterback plans insofar as he is the only guy currently employed by the team.
Yes.
If his contract were expiring, I would venture a guess that he would not at all be involved whatsoever. There would be no consideration of bringing him back. The fact that he's, going to be back just naturally means he'll be around for some period of time. How long? I don't know. For the season? Maybe. I wouldn't, we've had this conversation. We had this conversation, I think, like immediately post season. and we were kind of on different sides there. I still think there's a chance that he is on the team for sure, and not traded away or not cut. But I do think that whether or not he's actually in the shadows or it's the ghost of Levis because he's no longer here, he's not going to be a pivotal part of their plan at quarterback this year.
Yeah. Second thing to clear up before we get to our first tier, Jimmy says Chef Austin High School cafeteria cooks square pizza every day. No, this was not what that cooking show was. This was at our friend's house who had a fantastic kitchen, and it was a 3-camera shoot for a cooking show because this kitchen in particular had an upstairs walkway that went over the kitchen. So you bet your ass we had the over the stove camera angle for this.
This is a Brentwood kitchen.
This was a Brentwood kitchen. You're absolutely right. All right. So I did post the article in the chat so you guys can go check this out. But to go through the number 1 quarterback tier for the Titans quarterback plans, according to Easton, you believe the top priority, the number 1 quarterback the Titans would be most interested in acquiring is Rams quarterback and Super Bowl champion from not too long ago, Matthew Stafford. So he is atop the list by himself. Mm-hmm. Why?
Yeah, they would. I mean, here's the reality. The Titans would love nothing more than to somehow land Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford, roll into 2025 with him as their guy. I think it's hard to blame them. And this is not like, this is kind of a duh thing because of the potentially available quarterbacks, either in free agency via trade or in the draft. He is clearly not close, easily the best amongst them. He remains a top 5 pocket passer, in my opinion, just as a pure pocket passer in the entire league. His age and mobility are really the only things that are keeping him out of that true top tier of quarterback these days. But I still, would drop little nuggets about him throughout the season. I think that he is regularly underrated. He's been elevating a really mediocre roster in LA pretty much since their Super Bowl run. It got, I would say, better than mediocre at the back half of this season. But before then, it was the Matt Stafford show, and he was a big part of the reason why they were a couple plays away in the snow from beating the eventual Super Bowl champions in the divisional round of the playoffs. So, I would imagine he's at the top of the list for most teams that are quarterback needy this offseason, and they're all holding their breaths that the Rams actually make the decision to move on from him, which we can talk about. There's been a lot of rumblings and things that make it seem like a possibility. I am still leaning less likely than not, just because if you boil it down to simple motivation, you put yourself in the shoes of Matt Stafford. What's the best situation for me to end my career? It's probably in LA. If you boil it down to putting yourselves in the Rams shoes, what's the best situation for us in terms of the next year or two at quarterback? It's almost certainly Matthew Stafford. So it's going to take interpersonal or financial issues that we've heard some about. Colin Cowherd was on Fox yesterday talking about how, I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before, about how the Rams, they like Stafford. They're getting a little bit tired of the circus of it all, the will he won't he of it all. They're not sure about whether or not when they come back to the table with his contract, because they set themselves up. The reason why we're talking about this at all really is because of what they did pre 2024 at the beginning of last season. They went through and they moved all of his, they moved the money from the end of his contract all into 2024. They fully guaranteed that money last year, and then they removed all future guarantees at the beginning of last season. So his contract, he's still under contract, but it's a shell of a contract, and he's going to have to be restructured to go forward, or else there's going to be issues. And so they're going to have to do that. I don't think the Rams are interested in giving him more than a year, maybe 2 of commitment on paper, maybe fake commitment, but really financially tying themselves to him as a team. They'd like to just do it for 1 more year. I don't know if Stafford's going to be in on that. I don't know what kind of number he's going to want. And so that kind of thing stacked on top of the Kelly Stafford podcast, and the Cooper Cup of it all, where they're not, apparently they're not happy with Cooper Cup and the way that he kind of aired out the laundry of that trade situation. That's what Cowherd reported on Fox Sports yesterday. And he is a bit, those two are tied at the hip, Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford. They're very loyal to one another. Stafford's not happy about them moving on from Kupp. There's just tension there. So if they move on, that's the reason why. I'm still betting they find a way to resolve it because it's best for both parties in the long run.
For sure. But, the flexibility was built in. Kelly Stafford on her podcast saying, hey, we understand that it's a business and open to moving other places depending on what's best. So I think that they understand the potential reality of that. All right, so Matt Stafford is by himself the top option, according to Easton, and what he believes he knows from conversations about what the Titans want to do. So this is quarter. You want to clarify?
I want to add one more thing to this because we talked about why he may be on the move. And again, it's not just the Titans interested in this by any means, right? The team that you've heard the most is the Giants and that connection. And I do think the Giants are, it sounds like the Giants are interested in that situation very strongly, would be willing to spend a lot to go get him. Would they send the number 3 overall pick to get him? I would bet almost certainly not. But what would he demand in a trade? Albert Breer at Sports Illustrated has reported a couple of times that the Rams are talking about it's going to take a first-round pick. That might just be bluster and them setting the bar high so that they can negotiate down and have some room for themselves. But the market is thin, right? And the Rams, they want serious compensation. They know what the market looks like. If they're going to seriously move on from their quarterback, they need it to be a real move. And so the talent dictates absolutely you spend a first-round pick on that guy until you realize he's a 37-year-old and he's not going to probably get any better than he currently is. And so while he's still very good, what would the Titans have to send? And this is where it gets tricky and why I think tier 1 is more of a dream on paper than it is in reality for the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
The Titans have the money to do whatever the length and total number that Stafford would want to do. Like the actual renegotiation of the contract would be fine. It's just a matter of how they could make a trade work with the Rams. They're not obviously sending the first overall pick for Matthew Stafford. Absolutely not. They're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Could they send the 35th overall pick? That's, you hear all the time people are like, it's basically a first, which is so funny because it's not, but it's close. And so, maybe that's enough to do it for the Rams. I still don't know if the Titans would be interested in that because it is antithetical to what the new front office has been saying about not wanting to give up top 100 picks. They're wanting to get more top 100 picks. Maybe they break that rule for a quarterback, but I'm not sure if they would want to make that their first move after talking their talk. Mm-hmm. Just when you try to make it work on paper, it gets difficult. And part of that is the Titans only having 2 top 100 picks this year. Yep. Part of that is their needs. So I think that while they would love it, and they would, if we're playing a game of I think I know, the old school media game, things that I feel that are just based on vibes, things that I think that are based on things I've heard, and things that I know, things that for a fact based on sourcing. I know the Titans would really like Matthew Stafford on the team because he's great. He'd be
because
I know,
right.
And also but I don't think it's going to happen.
To the next tier of what you know and think and also feel about the Titans quarterback tiers of acquisition. We'll get to that here in a second, but first we'll tell you guys about our great friends at Bart Durham Injury Law. A crash can change your life forever, but help is just a click away at bartdurham.com. Bart Durham Injury Law has served Nashvillians, Tennesseans, and beyond since 1975 when the great legendary late Bart Durham opened the business's doors. And they've been able to help anybody out when whatever car accident that you have unfortunately been in, they know how to get you the resources and the help necessary for you to not have that change your life forever, as they say. Your big truck wreck is Bart Durham Injury Law's fight for justice. And with Bart's passing last year, his son Blair Durham heavily involved with Bart, but also now running the show, a Marine veteran and also great Nashvilleian himself. A lot of charitable things, a lot of things that Blair and Bart were doing behind the scenes in our community to make people's lives better beyond just Bart Durham Injury Law. But great people, a great team that we've gotten to know over the last few months. If you ever need any help for any attorney to help you with whatever situation you're in, especially any car accident, head to them online at bartdurham.com.
Hey, before we keep going, make sure you like that show. Help us out. We got a lot more to say, but not until you hit that like button. I can see the number. Frankly, not enough of you liking the show this morning. So hit that like button for us. Help us out.
All right. So Easton, we've been through tier 1 is Matthew Stafford by himself. Tier number 2 for the Titans quarterback ratings that we perceive the Titans of how we think the Titans are rating these guys. 2 free agent 2 veteran options. 1 free agent Sam Darnold with the Vikings last year. And number 2 on this tier is Saints quarterback Derek Carr. Look, we've talked about a lot of these guys several times throughout this offseason thus far. But why do you think Darnold and Carr, why do you have them grouped together as the next best option if Matt Stafford is not a realistic option for the Titans in your first tier?
Well, the reason I have them grouped together isn't because their situations are similar, and we'll break down in a minute what the differences there. The reason I had them together on the same tier of preference is because I think that the Titans would relatively equally be interested in these two guys. They're the non-rookie, non-Stafford other options that would be. The one thing these guys have in common is they would be day one starters if you went and got those guys. They would maybe not finish the season, and we can talk about that, but they would be your starter day one, and they are good enough quarterbacks to make that an exciting proposition, in my opinion. So let's start with Carr, because we've spent more time on Darnold on the show this week. The Carr situation is similar to Stafford in the sense that the league isn't sure he'll be available, right? Because he's not a free agent, but we don't know for sure whether or not he's going to be made available by the Saints. We know the Titans have multiple connections to him, most notably Brian Callahan and his relationship with him. All the guys on the Titans that were with the Raiders at some point have an overlap with the Derek Carr Raiders. Now, Kellen Moore, Eagles' former offensive coordinator, just took that head coaching job. And I think, do we have that clip pulled, Austin?
Yeah.
So he took the head coaching job in New Orleans. He's been there for 10 seconds, and he was asked yesterday at his introductory press conference about whether or not he's going to want to make Derek Carr a part of his future plans.
Yeah, this is Kellen Moore with two questions that have been edited together from the Saints press conference that came out yesterday on Derek Carr.
Talking about the cap situation, one of those cap hits and guys that's prevalent with that is obviously quarterback Derek Carr. What do you think about him when looking at his tape, and do you view him as being the week one starter for this team with you as head coach?
Yeah, Derek's a tremendous quarterback in this league. I've had so much respect for him, the journey that he's been on. He's a starter in this league. He's a premier player in this league. He's had a great journey, obviously going from Fresno State to the Raiders and now here. Really excited to team up with him and go through this process. And so just like any player on this roster, I just got here a few days ago, and I'm excited to go through this journey with all of them.
Following up on Derek, do you view that as you guys have a decision to make at quarterback, or you view it as Derek Carr as the quarterback?
I view it as Derek Carr is a tremendous starting quarterback in this league. We're fortunate to have him, and we're excited to go through this process, as we build this roster together. Again, I'm meeting these guys for the first time the last few days. I'm really excited to meet more of them, and this will be a lot of fun.
So if I were to describe that 59 seconds of Kellen Moore answering two Derek Carr questions, I would use 3.5 words with a hyphen in there: respectful but non-committal.
Yeah, no, I non-committal was the word I had in mind. So
non-committal was the hyphens. That's where I get 3.5 words. Respectful, comma, but non-committal on Derek Carr,
especially that follow-up, right?
Yeah, for sure. Because look, we've talked through this situation. If they cut Derek Carr, they're really not saving that much money on the cap this year. They have a lot of the Saints have been in.
Well, it depends on how they cut him. It depends on how, because there are two schools of thought on this. I'm not saying you're dumb because you're about to say they'd probably trade him, right?
That would be the Saints' preference, but who is going to?
I'm not sure though. I'm not sure. Really? It may be, and they know their books
if the
better
Saints
than
trade
I do.
him, then they get something back. So teams prefer to do that most times.
Well, yes, but if they cut him designated post June 1st, they get, I think, $31 million worth back. And I think that similar to, and we don't know this for sure, it's been rumored but not officially reported, that Aaron Rodgers has been released by the Jets as a designation post June 1st, which if you don't know what that means, it essentially means you technically aren't cutting them until after June 1st, which is a landmark moment in the financial NFL calendar, where after that time, the cap relief changes for you because you're in a new year technically of your roster build. It's basically if you to put it very simply, if you cut somebody post June 1st, you are intentionally taking on more of a financial ding now in order to be alleviated of the cap hit later. It's a take your medicine now kind of move. And so if the if the Saints did that with Carr, I think it would be in the $31 million range, if I'm not mistaken. That's a financial relief that they could really use considering their books.
Here's Derek Carr's post June 1 cut. The Saints would save $30 million on the cap this year. That is his entire base salary. but they would have to have that go on to their cap next season. So they would have like 50 million. They would even have a large cap hit next year if they.
Well, yeah, I explained that backwards. Excuse
Yeah.
me. It's a take your medicine now move to cut them now. It is pushing. It's kicking the can down the road to cut them later.
Because if they cut Derek Carr pre June 1, that is a $50 million dead hit, and they only save 1.3. So that would be just flat out stupid.
Right. That's taking your medicine now, and that's not something that they're going to do. So I'm
with
you that they're not going to cut him now.
Yeah,
right, but they're currently what, 70 million every year. It's 70 or $80 million over the cap. They have to restructure basically every veteran contract, become cap compliant before they can even begin free agency, before they can even begin to sign their draft class. And so, $30 million in relief this year is a big deal to them. And so I wouldn't.
You don't get that until after June 1st.
Right? Correct. Yes, but you can agree. I think you can agree in principle to signings, and you can also wait to sign your draft class. Many teams even do when they still have the money to. So, like it is money you can use for this year's roster construction, which is very important.
Yeah,
so
you're just having to do a bunch of gymnastics all over your salary.
Well, that's the world the Saints have to live in right now, because that's where they put themselves.
Back to the football side of things. The reason why these two quarterbacks are in the same tier after Stafford is because you believe on the football field, they would provide a similar want for Brian Callahan and his coaching staff on what they can provide to the football team in 2025, whether it's week 1, the whole season, or beyond. It's these guys are similar from a quarterback perspective, in your opinion.
Yes,
viewed that way by the Titans.
Yep, that is what I believe to be the case. That's what I believe. This is not my opinion, like what I would rank them as. This is my belief as to what the Titans think. And so if Derek Carr is an option in March, I do believe the Titans are going to be seriously interested. I think the method of moving on, which is to kind of put a bow on that, whether they cut him or trade him, could be that determining factor in how strong the interest is. Because if the Titans have to give up a pick again for Carr, it certainly wouldn't be a first or second round pick, but what would it be? Would it be one that the Titans are willing to give up? I don't know. Now, the thing that I like most about Carr, Austin, we'll probably talk more about this next week because I'm writing more about it over the weekend. The reason why I think Carr is such a strong option is the fact that I believe he's the best veteran option you could attain this offseason while still drafting a quarterback in the first round. I'm there's always interpersonal dynamics at play, so you have to make sure you're not pissing the guy off too much. But for me, Stafford is above that arbitrary line of you can't double up. Like if you get Stafford, I don't think you can go draft a rookie right away.
Right.
Or I think he's below that line. I think you could do that, like the Falcons did with Kirk Cousins last year, for example. Would he be stoked about it? No. Would it still work? I think it would. And I subscribe to the theory that nobody in the NFL spends enough capital on taking quarterback swings just in general. I think the upside of that position being really good, right, is that that upside is higher than any other position in the entire game. If you are really a quarterback, that upside is infinitely more important than the other positions. And so you should always aim to be richer at quarterback than you think you need to be. For what it's worth, just a quick note, and I'll point some people to some really good work from our buddy Nick Suss. He wrote either last Thursday or Friday about an interaction he had with Matt Hasselbeck at the Super Bowl, where he was asking him about the Ron Wolf school of team building, which is what the Titans are now. Like, if you don't know who Ron Wolf is, legendary Packers executive, Packers general manager, who has kind of a tree of belief out there in the NFL now that Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker both subscribe to. Chad Brinker literally raised up in that, and Borgonzi and the Chiefs subscribe to that model as well. And the reason he asked Hasselbeck is because he spent a lot of time in Seattle and in Green Bay under that same school of thought. And Nick asked Hasselbeck at the Senior Bowl, what is it about the Ron Wolf school of thought that is different to you? Like what sticks out? And Hasselbeck's answer was they're typically more willing to maintain valuable depth at quarterback than other teams. They're willing to be deeper at quarterback and deal with the interpersonal issues there and try to be richer than they feel like they need to be at quarterback. And you saw that multiple times in Green Bay.
I mean, there are three massive examples of Favre and Rodgers and Love, and Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes.
Well, and a fourth one that I wasn't even aware of until yesterday, somebody brought it up, and I was like, that's a good point. The Commanders, the Redskins at the time, were under this same school of thought when they drafted Kirk Cousins and RG3 in the same draft.
Yeah.
So that's.
I mean, you could even here's another one. Like here's a Seattle Seahawks one that might be a little. I don't know if it's a.
No, I know where you're going.
Is it the signing of Matt Flynn and the drafting of Russell Wilson?
Oh no, but that's a good one. On top of that, Hasselbeck's example was when they went and got him. Or when they went and got him and he was ostensibly the starter, he was signed to be, and that was understanding. But then they also in free agency after that went and got worst quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl. Trent Dilfer. Went and got Trent Dilfer. And everybody's kind of like, why'd they do that? Well, it's because they want to be rich at quarterback. And so I would not be surprised one bit, Austin, if this is the way that the Titans see it. If this is something that here's something you want to talk about. I think I know. I know the Titans want to, whether they draft a rookie or not, they want to go and get a starting caliber-ish or better veteran player to be on this team in this quarterback room. Now, whether that's in the cards or not, it may just not be. And the way that the dominoes fall throughout the draft season, it may not line up for them. But if they have their druthers, they're going to, whether they draft a rookie or not, go and get somebody that is a tier or 2 or 3 above the Mason Rudolphs of the world, because that is the way that they want to operate. And so Derek Carr, I think, is at the very top of that food chain, and why they'd be so interested is because I think with him, you could do it that way.
Okay, I like that. So Derek Carr and Sam Darnold are in that grouping. So we've gone through our quarterback tiers. So let's get through these next 2 tiers, and then we'll ask you guys a question to get you guys more involved. So Easton's quarterback tiers on what he feels, thinks, and knows about the Titans' quarterback needs this offseason. Tier 1, Matt Stafford by himself. Tier 2, free agent Sam Darnold and Saints quarterback Derek Carr. Tier 3, the rookie quarterbacks that are Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. That's it, right? It's just those 2 rookies, Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. And then tier 4 are the other vets. And so all the other vets.
All
so
the other
Easton,
vets.
I'm going to read from your article on what you say in the other vets, because you've also said tier 5 is every other rookie that's not Sanders or Ward.
Mm-hmm.
But the other veteran quarterbacks in tier 4 that you've named in your article at A2ZSports.com, the Titans aren't crazy about Justin Fields, Aaron Rodgers, or Jameis Winston. Fields just isn't a good fit for the Callahan offense. Winston is exciting, but he does nothing to fix their biggest issue, as turnovers. And as far as Rodgers, his reputation precedes him. Callahan regime isn't going down with the Rodgers ship. Now, you did say it's possible to see one of these, let's say Kirk Cousins or Russell Wilson, thrown into the mix there. So while you do not believe that Fields, Winston, or Rodgers are options, it could be a Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, but you're exhausting the other 3 tiers before you get to that, right?
Yes. So let me clarify,
Okay.
because in that other veteran options category, I included Fields, Rodgers, Winston, Cousins, and Wilson.
Right.
And
5, yeah.
I'm not here to tell you the Titans are all the way out on all of those guys. I do think that they are more out on a Justin Fields or an Aaron Rodgers or a Jameis Winston than they potentially are on a Russell Wilson or a Kirk Cousins. But they're all in the same group, because it's possible. I think it's perfectly possible you see one of those 5 passers on this team, even though they're not crazy about Rodgers or Winston or Fields. They're not crazy about them as starters, as guys you hitch your wagon to entirely, put all your chips in on that guy. I think if you see one of those signings in March, it does nothing to inform us on whether or not they'll draft a quarterback in April, right? If you with Stafford and Carr and Darnold, especially Stafford and Darnold, if they were to make a move on those guys, that gives us a pretty good idea of what they're thinking in terms of the draft, right? With Carr, I think you still could have the possibility of, well, maybe they also draft a guy that could double down here. Mm-hmm. But with these 5 other veteran options, it almost, to me, if they went and got one of those guys this spring, which I think is perfectly possible, it probably is going to make me feel like they're more likely leaning quarterback in the first round, because like I said, they want that upgraded veteran option on the team next year, regardless whether they took a rookie. But with these 5 guys, my understanding is that they're going to be inclined to want to see, they're inclined to see these guys more as bridge options, veteran options you pair the rookie with, than the guy that you Jameis Winston and let's ride, Kirk Cousins and let's ride. I think that they're still going to be very in on the rookie quarterback situation if they go and get one of these guys. So if and when they go and sign one of these guys, don't come back and say, well, Easton said they didn't like him. My response will be, let's see what happens on April 18th or whatever, for the first round of the draft, because I will be inclined to bet heavily on whatever it is. I will be inclined to bet heavily on them drafting a QB if they go with one of these guys in March or April.
All right. I believe the draft is Thursday, the 24th.
24th. Okay. That sounds right.
Somebody can check me on that. That's just
I know it's a Thursday. It's a Thursday in April.
That's me trying to do my weekend math, because I know anyway. I know Friday, May 2nd is a Friday, because that's Buck's Greg Cosell event. So everybody mark your calendars on that. And so I believe that's how the math works. All right. So let's ask you guys this question here. And that is,
people talking about Mac Jones in the comments. Not expecting that this morning.
That's because some weirdo wrote an article about predicting the Titans having Mac Jones and then said, I don't know how, I don't know when, but I think they're going to get Mac Jones, which was the laziest thing you could possibly do.
When? Who?
Do you mean name names? Do you mean name names?
Yeah. Who? What?
Connor Orr on Sports Illustrated did a bold prediction for all 32 teams, and he went in the draft order. So the Titans were the first bold prediction. And he goes, Mac Jones will be the Titans starter. I don't know how, I don't know when, but that's my prediction. It's going to happen. Okay, moving on to the Browns. It was the worst possible.
When was this, like recently?
This was like this week, yes. It was like the laziest way. Like, tell me.
I like Connor Orr, but I don't know about all that.
I do too. Tell me you don't care about your Titans bold prediction without telling me you don't care about your Titans bold prediction. Just say
there were so many. It's just weird. There were so many
Mac
bold
Jones
ways you could go.
Like, that's not the craziest take in the world.
No,
but it's how he followed it up with, I don't know how, but that's just what I'm going to write here to fill a gap. That's going to be my Titans bold prediction placeholder. I don't know how.
Clearly does not read my articles, because I would not write something like that.
Yes. You would actually give that's the anti of what you would do.
I might write something stupid, but I'd give you a good reason for why I thought it.
Yeah, it might be stupid, but you believe it.
Right, but dadgummit, I think it.
So here we go. We're going to ask you guys this question to kind of group all this together. Do you like or dislike how we perceive the Titans QB rankings sit? And so again, like, this is work done by Easton behind the scenes to try to take all of the quarterback notes and knowledge and nuggets that he's heard over the last month plus and put them into a tier ranking of Matt Stafford is number one by himself. And this is like what the Titans would prefer if they could have a crystal ball. Here's how the Titans would rank them. If they could have their options, Matt Stafford would be the first option. The second option would be to get either Derek Carr or Sam Darnold. The third option is to go with either Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. And the fourth option are the other veterans that you had 5 names, which are Rodgers, Justin Fields, Jameis Winston, Kirk Cousins, and Russell Wilson. And then tier 5 is all the other rookies, besides Shedeur or Cam. So do you like or dislike where we think the Titans have these aligned? Again, these are not how we rank them. This is how we think the Titans are ranking them based on everything we have heard Easton say. So do you like or dislike our perceived Titans QB rankings?
Maybe put it this way, Austin. If let's say hypothetically I'm 100% right, and I broke into first St. Thomas Sports Park and stole this list off of the desk of Mike Borgonzi. This is what they believe.
Yes.
If this is what the Titans believe, are you pleased with their rankings or not?
With their process, right? Because this is our perceived rankings for the Titans, right? Yep. So do you like or dislike our perceived rankings for the Titans? But I'll tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who you could turn to and who you can trust. And that is the Bone and Joint Institute in Franklin off I-65 at Highway 96. They will take care of you. They're right next to Williamson Medical Center, right there in Franklin too. And so whatever that injury may be, whether it's life or sports injuries, they know how to help you out to get you back with that, because they have great experts, great doctors, great surgeons, all the support staff, physical therapy center, and equipment, and their surgery center. It's all right there on one roof, and they can do everything right there. The support staff is also incredible. I've been for a couple different injuries over the last 2 to 3 years. I've been, I think, 4 appointments, 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 4 appoint The longest time I was at the Bone and Joint Institute was a total of 40 minutes. That includes like from exiting my car to entering my car, a total of 40 minutes, the longest of the 4 appointments, which
there's nothing than
super
a medical
fast.
facility that gets you in and out.
Yes.
I mean, because when you go and you wait 30 minutes for a 15-minute appointment in the waiting room,
like
it's just
it's
death.
All 4 times I'm like, and I should have learned, but all 4 times, like I have something to do for work in the waiting room. And then like I sit down and I start that. I'm like, oh, damn it. I didn't have enough time to do that project.
Ready for me.
They're ready for me too fast.
Yeah.
So that's the Bone and Joint Institute. Book an appointment when you need them online, boneandjointtn.org.
Yeah, hey, before we move on, and there's a lot more to say, make sure that you guys are leaving a 5-star Google review for us. Help us out. We're trying to get to that 5-star even rating. I believe we're still at the 4.9 mark, so we need a couple more 5-star reviews. If you want to go in there and leave some constructive criticism in the comment, by all means, go for it. Just make sure it's attached to a 5-star review. Feedback is a gift, so let us know what you think. Leave that 5-star review on Google for us.
Yeah, you guys can tell us like what you want us to improve about the show, but just
Yeah.
do it with a 5-star.
That's right.
Do it with a 5-star review. Okay. So Easton, we have thrown out there what we perceive to be the Titans rankings of the quarterbacks available this offseason, of Matthew Stafford by himself as the best option. The second tier is Darnold and Carr. The third tier are the top rookie quarterbacks of Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. And tier 4, the other vets that we have just kind of lumped in the 5 of Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Jameis Winston, Justin Fields, and Russell Wilson. And then that's it, because you think other quarterbacks that are rookies are just off the board.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jackson Dart, not an option.
Nope.
Shuck out of Louisville, not an option. The Canadian Cannon, is that what you called him?
That's what I called him.
I like
Tyler Elsmenga or whatever his name is.
Not an option. Not going to happen. Jalen Milroe, absolutely hell no. Like, so
you can write that one in pen, by the way. It's not the Milroe experiment ain't happening.
Milroe is a hell no. So there you go. So those are the 4. So do you like or dislike the rankings that we think the Titans are sitting with Stafford, Darnold and Carr, Shedeur, Cam, and the other veterans? I'll send you the chat, Easton, to see what people are saying about these rankings, these perceived rankings.
Mark says he likes it, as does Darius. Eric says me gusta. Richie says like but dislike.
Come on. That's like saying 50% chance.
Yeah,
like,
come on,
or
Richie.
5 out of 10. Like,
Andre says I'm flipping tier 2 and 3, so he wants to see the rookies as the second option. I think it's perfectly fine.
I like that. That's a good response.
Yeah, and listen, without go and read the full rookie thing, because there's a lot in there about the rookies that we didn't talk about today. But I will say that the crux of that bit is the next 6-ish weeks when they get to see them at the combine, have them on 30 visits, have the go to their pro days. That's the most pivotal part of this process for the rookies, and it is absolutely on the table that in the next 6 weeks they do flip that, and suddenly they fall in love with one of these guys. So that's possible.
Real quick, because I did just repost your article that we've basically based the show around. Yep. Nick says, be careful, Austin. Didn't you say something similar about the Titans drafting Levis? You just manifested the Titans drafting Milroe. There's a big difference here because I had no knowledge of the Titans like or dislike of Will Levis. Yeah. I just said, I don't like Will Levis. Don't draft Will Levis, not Levis, no matter what. And they drafted Will Levis. Here, the difference in Milroe is that Easton knows that
I am 10 toes down on no Milroe.
Or 10 tiny fingers because he's got small hands, as somebody said in the chat. Super Juggernaut says Milroe has those tiny hands. Yeah, he could be on the Burger King Whopper commercial from back in the day.
Milroe unironically needs to change positions because he's a good athlete. John says you can remain delusional, but they want Mac Jones. John, we are not saying they don't want Mac Jones. They may. We're saying that the article reasoning for why they didn't exist.
Is Mac Jones still under contract in Jacksonville?
I also don't know about that. I feel like they probably sent him to a 1 year, but I'm not sure.
I think they'd sign him to a 2 year, to be honest. I'm looking it up now.
Yeah, look that up. Justin says, don't love Stafford tier 1, too expensive for a bridge. Let's see here. Curtis says first 2 tiers are too expensive, but makes sense. Andre says tier 4 is no option. So Andre
Mac
all
Jones,
the way out
free
on
agent. Mac Jones is a free agent. So
well,
maybe is he a tier 4 guy?
To be super clear, he's in that tier. I mean, tier 4 says at the top, all other veterans, and he's another veteran. So not saying he's not in that group. I'm just saying I mean, maybe Orr heard something. Like, I'm not saying Orr's wrong. I'm just saying,
Yeah, but
why
he didn't
write it
say
like that?
He didn't
Right.
say he heard anything.
Right. He wrote an article that was basically "Trust me, bro," is what he said in the article. Which
But it wasn't even that. It was just like, I don't care about the Titans. I'm just going to put this here because I have to.
Right.
Like, that's what he did. My
that's what
bosses
we're
told
looking
me
at.
to do this, and so here's what I'm doing this, but I don't care about it.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Which is also what we don't tell our people to do. We don't make people do stuff that they don't care about, right?
I'm kidding. Yeah, no, they don't. They don't make us do stuff. The Titans sometimes make me do stuff that I don't want to do, but Austin does not make me do stuff I don't want to do. MB says flip tier 3 and 4. Steven does not like it. Curtis semi likes it. Not an answer, Curtis.
But that's a vote for like.
I mean, I suppose he barely likes it. Ira Hoshi says dislike. Rookie should be number 1 or stick with Levis. Wow. Okay, so all in on the rookies for Ira Hoshi. Not interested in any veterans. John likes it. Deborah thinks that she likes it. Jay likes the fact that the veterans are proven options, which is what the Titans like about them as well. I can guarantee you that. Brian Callahan in the business of keeping his job this year, and so that's a big part of that for sure. One dislike here from Max Stahl. I appreciate somebody with their chest saying not a fan. I can respect that, Matt. So generally people like it.
I put out a YouTube poll.
Okay.
Do you like or dislike our perceived Titans QB rankings? What do you predict the YouTube? Because it's just like or dislike, so it's A or B. What do you think the YouTube results are as of like the first 5 minutes of the poll?
71% like it.
Pretty close, 68%.
Okay.
Which means 32%.
Two-thirds.
And it's bouncing around. There's a plus or minus 1 or 2. It's bouncing around. So now it's 66% like, 34% dislike. So it's still early in the poll. So things are moving pretty quickly. I like it, I think, and so like,
Hey, me too.
I thought you were about to fall. But I do like it because I'm still very unsure about the quarterback at number 1 overall.
Sure.
Because Andre said, which was my favorite comment of the responses to the question, is that he would flip the rookie quarterbacks at tier 3 up to tier 2. But because I like Abdul Carter a lot, I still think the idea of Derek Carr / Sam Darnold to basically punt on this quarterback class to get either in a trade back to 3-ish or taking Abdul Carter number 1 or taking him at 3 if the Giants want to come up and get their guy or whatever.
Right.
I like that idea. And I like the fact that you've got the 2 rookies behind Carr and Darnold, because I think that's a good kind of a duct tape for now solution.
Okay.
But I also, as I said this yesterday to Sam, I know somebody that knows Derek Carr. I know somebody that knows Aaron Rodgers.
Hey, I know somebody that knows Derek Carr. His name is Brian Callahan.
Right, you do.
Just
I don't know Brian Callahan. You spent 90 minutes talking to Brian Callahan last month, so that's good. But I know somebody that knows Derek Carr more recent than Brian Callahan knows.
You're friends with somebody that knows Derek Carr.
And they believe that Derek Carr is somebody who can come in, lead a football team, operate an offense the way it's supposed to be operated, and all of this, right? So I think Derek Carr would give us the answer on Brian Callahan as the head coach.
100% agree.
And
100%.
so I think that's pretty intriguing to me.
Yes.
I think Sam Darnold can kind of do that as well, because as you talk to you talked to Sean McAvoy, which go listen to that. We played a clip earlier in the week about this.
It's on YouTube. Check it out.
And go check that out. Like, I think Sam Darnold kind of lines you up with Brian Callahan versus Kevin O'Connell. Now, that's not Kevin O'Connell's an NFL coach of the year right now,
right?
Which means he might be fired in 3 years based on the history.
It's not a good track record.
But it at least, I'm not saying if Sam Darnold fails, then it's Brian Callahan's fault and makes Kevin O'Connell. I'm not saying you should compare them side by side, but it gives you a relative.
It's a control in the experiment, right?
Yes, exactly. So that's why I like those 2 guys, Carr or Darnold, because it tells you more about the head coach. And then you're not tying yourself to a brand new 4-year rookie contract with a 5th-year option when you don't truly know about the head coach.
Right.
That's why I like these rankings most.
And people in the comments are talking about contracts for the Carr Darnold tier. I saw somebody a second ago say you don't pay 30+ million for one of those guys. Well, if you get one of them, I'm here to tell you, you do pay. So, Caps, obviously your opinion is you don't want them because you're going to have to pay 30+.
There is a potential for Derek Carr to be this season's Russell Wilson last year.
Possibly.
Where Derek Carr is getting paid cash by the Saints and you don't have to pay him that much.
Mhm.
Like the Steelers did with Russell Wilson, who is making boatloads and truckloads and Brinks trucks worth of money from the Broncos while making Tyler Boyd vet minimum from the Steelers. So that could play out that way. And now you don't financially attach yourself to Derek Carr beyond just a little bit, and you get to check a lot of boxes on your organizational building structure.
Right. Absolutely. And that's, again, in the article, I talk about how they move on, if they move on from Derek Carr, is probably the determining factor for whether the Titans are in. I think that's probably that's the most likely scenario in which the Titans are in heavy, right? Is if they could somehow get him on that freemium subscription to Derek Carr. Now with Darnold, he's different in the sense that with Carr, the options of what they do in the first round are still pretty wide open. You could see them trade down. You could see them take a rookie. You could see them stick and pick Abdul Carter. Like all of that, I think is still on the table if and when they go get Derek Carr. If and when they go get Sam Darnold, that pretty much to me eliminates the possibility of them drafting a quarterback at the top, because with Darnold, it's going to be a multi-year commitment. It's going to be in the $35+ million range, as I have something in my eye. And it's going to, it's going to financially dictate he is your starter for at least the next 2 years, pretty much, at least. Okay. Now, if people want to know, again, if you read the details of this in the article, generally, I think Darnold's contract would be in the Baker Mayfield $35-ish million a year for 3 to 4 years with an out for the team after 2 years. But the Raiders exist. And the Raiders are so interesting in all of this because they have the money now. They made it very public. Hey, we have Tom Brady and all these rich owners now. We're going to be spenders this offseason. So they're going to throw their money around. And they're a team that really doesn't have any other option, Austin, besides going hard after Sam Darnold. I've been told by folks in the league that the league circles expect the Raiders to go hard in the Darnold sweepstakes. It makes sense for them to do so. They don't really have any other option. And so they may drive that number up into the 40s, into whatever is above what the Titans are willing to spend. So because they exist, I'm kind of leaning the Titans aren't going to be in on Darnold because they're going to push that number up.
I know one quarterback the Raiders are not interested in. That's Derek Carr. So if they're going to get to
true.
I think, and here's the other thing with the Raiders. Look at what the Raiders are doing. They don't want to deal with a young quarterback.
Nope.
Because they just signed and hired the oldest, the freaking oldest head coach in history with not quite, but pretty old, with Pete Carroll. Chip Kelly's an older, experienced coordinator. Mm-hmm. They've got Tom Brady, who liked working with old Bill Belichick and old Bruce Arians.
Right.
And then, so I don't think they want to do a young. I think they want to get somebody that's got experience, and that's.
Maybe Chip Kelly is all in on the Will Howard experience, but I kind of doubt it. That's the only way I think.
Because he's like, I can't bring Jeremiah Smith with me.
Right.
I can't fit him in my carry-on. So all right. So the YouTube poll is sitting right at 64% likes this, 36% doesn't. Let's get to this video from Jeffrey Simmons that is making its rounds across social media. And really, I think, Easton, you and I feel similarly about the context of this opinion from Jeff, but we'll get to that here in a second. But first, nobody trashes Tennessee.com. That is the campaign that T-Dot has been running for several years now as we try to find the solution to end littering across our state of Tennessee. There are so many pieces of litter on our roadways, our highways, interstates, and beyond. And we all can be a part of the solution. We can learn about the bad habits that we might have developed over the years and really may not even know that that's contributing to the litter problem that we have in our state. And we can help fix those bad habits, become more aware of those. You can go to nobodytrashtennessee.com for many reasons, one of which is to find local cleanups in your community. Maybe it's a great way to get your kids involved as the spring approaches. They can help out with that volunteer experience in your area, or maybe it's just to take a litter quiz, because you can take a litter quiz and then save money on tickets to local events. Okay, not a bad deal, not a bad trade-off. So head up nobodytrashestennessee.com.
There's so much more to say, but first, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube right now, just right underneath the video, hit that subscription button right there. And maybe, goodness, you might even want to put on the bell notifications, because we've got stuff coming out all the time. Got a very exciting interview in the draft interview series I've been doing, coming out on Monday, I believe. Not coming out today. We've not talked about it, but Monday is what I think is going to happen with this article, or with this interview. It is a very awesome guest that you're going to like a lot. And the topic is why the Titans should go after Shedeur Sanders over Cam Ward, over Sam Darnold, over all the other options. Why Shedeur is the answer. It's a very strong argument. I think you're going to enjoy it. One little tidbit. A lot of what is said sounds like, without me prompting it, sounds like it came directly from Brian Callahan's mouth. I think fit is the biggest thing that we have not yet spent a lot of time on in the consideration of this whole quarterback thing. I think fit is massive. I think it's probably the most underrated thing in every draft cycle. And it's a big part of that interview that you will want to make sure you catch when it comes out. And so hit the bell so that you know your phone says, hey, this is out now. Go listen to it.
Yep. All right. Let's hear from, real quick, before we get to Jeffrey Simmons, I did want to bring up this Andre super chat. Hard to beat Jack's perpetually stretched out collar, but Easton is definitely making a run for it with his shirt and hat choices. At least they match.
They do match. This shirt is, guys, this is just a tie-dye shirt. This is a very normal, it's not that weird.
It's just like the way it hits the graphic and like the shoulder and chest.
It's the cutoff. It looks like it's just two colors.
But like honestly, you sat down and I was like, oh man, you spilled coffee all over yourself. What a rough morning.
Well, maybe that's how this company. I don't even know where this is from, but maybe that's how they made it. Is they
it's like the Family Guy skit where like, how did Reese's coming up with chocolate and peanut butter? I don't know if you've seen that. Family Guy skit. It's like, how'd they come up with this? Oh, you just spilt coffee on yourself and threw up at the same time, and then this actually looks pretty good.
Yeah,
who would have thought green and brown would have been a great tie-dye scheme. Okay, let's get to Jeffrey Simmons on this, and he was with Deebo Samuel at the Super Bowl, and Deebo asked him about what he would want the Titans to do with that top pick overall in the draft.
One draft pick. What you think y'all need?
I'm going to start on the defense side. I think we need another edge guy. That guy from Penn State, Abdul Carter.
He's a dog.
He's a dog. He's a dog. So I for sure think we need an edge.
You're a defensive guy. You say you need a DM.
I need an outside linebacker.
That's what we need.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very convenient edit.
It is.
Because there was a lot of jump cuts in that 18 seconds of Deebo. Number one pick. What do you guys think? And then Jeff says, I'm going to start with Abdul Carter. He's a dog. And then talks about that. But I think this is two players that are talking football, and they're talking about the top pick overall. And I could not, and you could not, find this full interview, this full episode anywhere else on the internet. Maybe just hasn't dropped yet because they're, scheduling out their content for the offseason, which is, totally normal. But I could not get that anywhere. So my guess is that Jeffrey Simmons probably talked through the top 4 guys the Titans could take in the first overall pick. But Bleacher Report Gridiron, when they wanted to promote this podcast, went with the most convenient edit they could possibly get.
One draft pick. What you think y'all need?
I'm going to start on the defense side. I think we need another edge guy. That guy from Penn State, Abdul Carter.
He's a
dog.
He's a dog.
He's a dog. So I for sure think we need an edge.
You're a defensive guy. You say you need a DM.
I need an outside linebacker.
That's what we need.
Yeah.
So in 18 seconds, I counted 4. There were 4 jump cuts edits. And so they're clearly piecing a lot of different things together. Easton, what's your thoughts on that?
You're not going to believe this. The Titans star interior rusher, who's just spent a year plus desperate for any help on the edge, would like for the Titans to go and get the best edge player in the draft. It's a revolutionary idea that I'm floored that he would think this. But all kidding aside, you know, duh. Like, I don't know. Like, of course he wants the Titans. Listen, I forget when, but last summer at some point, Brian Callahan at a podium was talking about Arden Key before we ever even got close to football. It was like, yeah, he's a rotational rusher. He's good at what he does. He's a rotational rusher. And we were all like, guy gets it. Yeah, 100%. Arden Key, good, useful player. Not an every down starter. Not his bag. And of course, he was forced to be and ended up being the Titans' best edge rusher this past year. I think a lot of fans don't like. I think I don't know. I think a lot of fans would probably tell you it's Harold Landry. I don't think so. I nothing personal against Harold. I think that it's over. I think that he was a speed to power merchant that was very, 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 very good at it. And then he hurt himself, unfortunately. And since then, he's never quite he doesn't have that gear anymore. And so he can't do the trick anymore. And it shows. And can he be a useful vet in spots? Yeah, I'm not saying he can't play, but can he be a starting edge for you? I do not think he's a starting edge in the NFL anymore. So I do not think the Titans have any starting edges. I think they have 2 starting edge positions currently vacant, currently filled by 2 guys that last year you saw. They're not starting edges. So the Titans can really use 2. And if they could draft one that could start day 1 and sign somebody in free agency, then that would be ideal. And that would, I think, better slot Landry and Key, who are both still under contract, who are both still valuable players to have. I just do not think, and I think Jeffrey understands this too. Like, he's not a dumb player at all. He knows, man, I need at least 1 starting edge on this team, probably 2, and we don't have any of them yet right now. So give me Abdul Carter. Of course he thinks that.
So I think that's a very convenient edit for Bleacher Report on the 18-second clip that's going around the internet on Jeff. I also say this with respect to players who do podcasts, especially active players who do podcasts. Topic development is not really anything that they've put any effort behind in their life because they haven't needed to. They're just talking. And that's what makes player podcasts good because they're just talking. They're authentic. They're just having a conversation like they would if there weren't microphones in front of their face. We do topic development. We have reasons behind how we set things up and do things. I don't think Jeffrey Simmons and Deebo Samuel are sitting here going like, all right, let's have a conversation about the number 1 overall pick. Let's make sure we set up an answer that's going to be able to be clipped to go on TikTok and Instagram Reel that's going to go viral for this podcast to market. They're not thinking that. They're just saying, hey, what do you think about, oh, man, Abdul Carr's a dog. Titans need edge rusher. They're just having a football conversation. So
just naming dudes.
They're just naming dudes and talking about guys. Like that's what we all did in a bar. Like what we all did when we were sitting in the
so what I do, any chance I get. What we all
did when we were in college, sitting around the dorm, right? It's the same. Like they're just talking football. Yeah. They're not topic development, like going through all this stuff. So that's where I think I don't think there's anything to read into, but oh, Jeff doesn't want a quarterback. I think that's ridiculous.
Well, I also had somebody on the internet tell me that if you listen to the full thing, which again, we looked for and could not find this morning.
I couldn't find it.
But apparently if and when you can listen to the full thing, he talks about them needing a quarterback too. So like, it's not like Jeff was all in, so take that for what it's worth.
Yes. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up this Friday show and this week with some good news. Here we go. Get your good news ready. If you have good news, share your good news in the chat. We'll get to it. Ain't that good news? Shout out to Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. See them in Lebanon. If you need a new ride, head up Plain Bone and say, hey, at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Good news in the chat. If you want to throw some good news in there. Doesn't it feel like the Super Bowl was so long ago?
Dude, I was going to say that earlier when you brought something up that was about the Super Bowl earlier. And I was like, oh, yeah, 2 weeks ago. And I was like, wait. No,
it was the Sunday. Debo and Jeff talked Super Bowl week, which was like last week.
Yes, I guess that's what it was. Yeah. But it does feel like it was post-Super Bowl. I've always thought it'd be weird because I've never been a fan of a team that has been in the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, I mean, technically I was as a, what was I, 2 years old when the Titans were in Atlanta. I mean, I was born. Yeah. I was born in 99.
Oh, so you were like literally months old.
Because it was what?
End of January 2000. January 2000. So
okay, yes. Okay, so I was 3 months old. I was watching that. Having a great time. My parents said that it was miserable. So I've never experienced that. And I've always thought it'd be weird if I was a fan that like wanted, like I was super stoked to hear everybody talk about my team after you win a big game in the regular season or the playoffs. Like part of the fun, at least for me as like a super fan of sports, is the week's worth of media coverage where it's like everybody's going to talk about us. You know what I mean? And after the Super Bowl, everybody seems so eager to move on. And like they talk about you on Monday and sort of Tuesday and some still on Wednesday. And I'm sure in Philly, they're still talking about it on the radio forever. But everybody's just like, you just put it in the rearview mirror because we're all ready to move. Like every other team's been done for a while and we're ready to move on to the offseason, baby. We got stuff to talk about.
That's right. That's right. So some good news in the chat. Titans Kyle says, I'm off most of next week. Bought her new house and get keys on Tuesday. Congratulations. Nice. Right there. Zach Goodman says, good news. Bathroom renovation is almost complete. Man, that's the in-home renovations are always something that's pretty just, you just got to white knuckle through it and just know that it's right there on the other side. It's somebody's birthday because Bernard says, happy birthday, fellow Aquarius. Enjoy your day today. I don't know whose birthday Bernard is responding to, but
happy birthday to Bernard's friend.
Maybe somebody said birthday in the chat. I just missed it overall. Jacob says, good news. My wife and I are going on the baby moon this weekend. So I hope you guys enjoy your time. Curtis says, good news. Daughter got invited to the gifted program. So
let's
congrats
go
to Curtis's daughter doing
gifted
big things.
Kid right here. Fellow gifted kid.
Oh, you are?
I was all the way through school. Yeah. Everybody hated me. Because you have to like sneak away from class to go to your little gifted thing. And they're like, where's Easton going?
I don't even know what that means. Like
it means you scored really high on an IQ test when you were in third grade. And then they just keep giving you stuff to do. That's all it is.
So it's just like, how can we just get this person occupied so they don't like use their extra curiosity and intelligence?
Here's the truth about the gifted program. It's very useful in elementary school. It's somewhat useful in middle school. It's a joke in high school. Like in elementary school, you're genuinely like you're further along than the other kids. And so you're like bored in class, like you need occupation. In middle school, it's like, okay. And then in high school, it's like, just take AP classes, bro. Like it's like, relax, like just take the higher level classes. It's not hard.
So in elementary school, it's like you're bored. So you need other stimulation so you don't disrupt everybody else because you're bored.
It's like, hey, this kid gets 100 on a spelling test every single week. It's not hard for him at all. Let's give him harder words. Like that's the whole thing.
Gotcha. Demetrius says, good news. Went to see the new Captain America movie in IMAX last night. It was decent at least. Please support the film. It is not as bad as movie critics are making it out to be.
Okay.
Sounds good. Andre, good news. The oldest bought her first car and we found someone to do the youngest prom dress for half of what was expected. Hey, how about that?
Making money
one daughter's off the books and the other daughter's half price.
That's right.
Oh man. More good news coming in here. Let's see. Paul, good news. Off today, can finally watch live. Good to have you along here.
What's up, Paul?
Paul?
Paul's my guy.
Let's see. You got any good news, Easton?
My good news is I get to get off of this Easton's wardrobe roast here in just a minute.
Yeah.
So I can go about the rest of my life with my shirt.
That's why I wear A to Z shirts every day.
And you know what? People in the comments telling me never wear this shirt again. I'm going to wear it as much as possible on the show now just to make you all mad.
See, I am like, Steve Jobs wore like the black turtlenecks every day because he doesn't think about it. I just have a section of my drawer that are just these, just so I throw it on. Don't have to think about what shirt I'm wearing on the show.
Yeah, I respect that. I respect that. I don't know. Other good news? Going to see a show at TPAC tonight. Don't know anything about it. It's called Anne Juliet, relatively new Broadway show. We'll see if it's any good. Last show I saw was Chicago at TPAC a couple weeks ago, and it was Chicago stinks. I love Golden Age musicals. Chicago is bad. Sorry. So hopefully Anne Juliet is good. That's my good news. Night out. Enjoyable Valentine's evening, I suppose.
Paul just nailed this in the chat. This shirt is forever known as your morning mocha.
You know what? Next time I wear it, I'm going to bring coffee with me.
It'll match that spot on your.
That's right. I'll just hold it right here. You won't see it.
How do you like your coffee? This colored.
Exactly. It's a color guide.
Titans Kyle says, good news. The entire A to Z team ignore my comments. We don't.
What did you say, Titans Kyle?
We read your comments
Titans
about
all the time.
We just literally said you're off next week and you're getting your house on Tuesday. Like what? I'm confused. We read Titans Kyle comments all the time. Your morning mocha. That makes me smile.
What's your good news?
My good news is look, long weekend. President's Day is on Monday, so we'll find out what our show usually.
We're off on Monday, right?
Yeah, kind of ish, you know.
Oh,
But
actually, I thought the
yeah,
answer was a
I
firm
mean,
no.
like the holiday that happens in the middle of February when there's nothing happening in sports is a good
We
opportunity
do
for us to
tend to
not
take.
run
Okay.
through topics that we could just use. So,
Sweet.
not going to have a regular morning show on Monday, but going to have some really good content coming up.
The interview. Perfect. There we go. We'll run that.
Yeah, I was going to tell you that in here about 5 minutes.
Okay.
So
Spoiler,
other
running now.
good news. So next Friday's show is going to be a little bit different because we're going to be doing a NFL Combine preview. You could have also used your good news on your vacation that's coming up.
Honestly, I keep forgetting. I'm going on vacation next week. I'll be gone.
So we will have a special guest from the A to Z family join us next Friday with Sam and I as we preview the NFL Combine.
Sweet.
Because that's my good news. So the NFL Combine preview that will be a week from today, and looking forward to that conversation to set up a lot of really good content going on. So that is it for us on this Friday and for the week. Hope everybody enjoys and has a great Valentine's Day as well. Make sure you like the show, subscribe to the platform you're on, 5-star Google review and beyond, and have a great, safe weekend. We'll see you guys next week. Appreciate it as always.